G'day, this is part 2. So, big Millennium Falcon. When we left, we were up to I'd made all of the ice sculpture-y things, but I realised I was going to need some scatter. Firstly, the lights, then some extra, what do you call them, crates and things. And I wanted them to be, I was thinking about making them out of cardboard, but I wanted them to be a little bit more solid in case the thing gets moved around or I have to put other models and things. So I don't want things that are going to crush or get wet. It's problematic sometimes with cardboard if you make stuff completely out of cardboard, that when you paint it can get a bit soft. So I decided to go with some off-cut timbers that I have, cut them to length, and then just sanded them to get rid of the daggy bits and take the edges off, make them look just a little bit rounded, not so squarey, smooth. Then it was a matter of trying to make them look more Star Warsy. So I had a little bit more look at the reference and some of the boxes that they have, and then it's cut. In this particular instance, I'm not guessing it. My cutting mat has a ruler on it, so I'm just working to the ruler. With cardboard, sometimes it's a good idea to lightly press down, especially when you're going the length that I was going. And do 2 cuts, otherwise it can go skew whiff on your ruler, especially on the last one. Then it was wrap them around the boxes, cut them off, and then glue them on. So these first 4 small boxes had just one top and bottom. I had to clean the glue out, and then we'll have a look at the other boxes. Again, for the sake of time, I have tried to make it slow enough to get the idea, but fast enough to not take forever for you to see it, and certainly not take as long as it took me to do it. And some of them I haven't bothered to show you me doing 4 of them. I've just jumped and transitioned to the next thing of, I hope, interest. But for these ones, it was very simple. It was just one row of one small cardboard band around the top and one around the bottom. While they're cardboard and timber, they look pretty, just, you don't know much. But when they get painted and washed and stuff, the only thing that you might do that I didn't end up doing, because they were going to be snowy and I didn't mind them having a bit of snow on them, I didn't bother to fill the tops. But if I was going to do it for a drier environment, I would have gone to the effort of putting some gap filler or something rather in the top to make it not so timbery grained at the top. These are the bigger boxes. All I did was measured the length and width of the face of the box and then cut a piece of cardboard out that was smaller than it. And then I drew some designs and cut it down the middle and separated it into halves. Pretty basic cuts. It's even, but it's not massively measured. And I glued them on with some on with super glue, and then some I was just using regular wood glue. This is just regular wood glue. Put it on, wiggle it into place, make sure it all stays down, hold it firm until it's happy. I did have an issue with the end grain on one of them. It was going to take too long, and I tried a bit of super glue, but it doesn't like to stick unless it gets a really open face. So one of them got 3/4 finished, and then I had to wait for the super glue part to have dried off, and then I did some more PVA glue on it, and then I just let that dry out completely so that the next time I tried to glue to the face it was a bit more smooth for it. But in that instance the cardboard covered up the end grain quite well, and I wouldn't need to fill that one. It's just part of the process of when you're working with multimedia, trying to find a glue that'll fix everybody and not stick to your fingers and not pull the face of the cardboard off and all of that sort of thing. I don't mind PVA when I'm working with cardboard because I find it gives me a little bit of time to work, even though it does take a bit to dry, and sometimes you do have to put you have to weigh them down so that they don't bend up. So I did 2 boxes of this size, pretty similar. So I had a funky design like what they had on the scanning crew box from A New Hope, and then just one piece and a band bit around the bottom on the sides and the ends. Then I got some skinnier pieces of cardboard and just made some doohickeys on it that will make it look like it's got some sort of panel or or screens or lights that might happen near the end when it's all said and done. The last one was same sort of, the other box, same sort of thing, only that I did a grill on the end of it, and I made some little small handles that stick to the top of it. And this is just doing the lights. So for the lights, I cut them too wide when I first did it. They needed to be a little bit narrower, but I didn't really realise that until after I'd glued all the bits on. So they were triangles, and then I just, after I'd sanded them and got them neat, I cut a whole lot more strips, and I glued 3 down the back of them. Later, after it was all dry, I did actually cut them in half, so I ended up with twice as many lights as I originally started with, and some spares for if I want to do something else down the track. So this is just gluing on the 3 little bits on the back. It's the same process for all 8 of them, and just make them sort of even so that when they're on the ground they're not just a block of timber. And apparently I've let this one run at double speed or single speed, longer than I thought. Anyway, so yeah, just getting them on. With the other container that's sitting there in the foreground, I actually decided that it was going to be a generator, and then I remembered that there was some leftover crate, spacey looking crate from the Mandalorian build when I did the Mandalorian Revenant Stormtroopers on Pikes build, that you can have a look at that, still up if you want to watch it. I made a couple of space crates and I didn't end up using them all. So this one, I then went, oh, I could I could cut that down and make it a little bit more generator-y looking. So it has a grill at one end, and then I went and found the other crate and chopped the bottom of it till it was a height that I was comfortable with. This is just gluing the end on for this one, because once again, I wanted them to be detailed enough to give you the impression, but I'm not going for studio having to be filmed quality. They came out really well. I'm more than happy with the result once they got painted. But here we go. That's the space box that I had. So I grabbed a small knife and a small saw, I should say, hobby saw, and chopped the beveled end off one end, left the bevel on the other end, basically glued it together, and then went and found a bendy straw to use as a connection hub for them all. There's a bit of a tip when you're trying to put straws, when you're gluing straws, that I'll show you in a sec. If you try and glue them on, which is what I did here, you can try the super glue and just put them on and get them to stick, but it's because with the straw it's a very thin edge, it can be quite difficult to get the thing to hold and stay. It doesn't have a great big amount of surface area to glue to. Now sometimes it glues and it's fine, and other times you get what happened there, where it just falls off. So one of the ways out of that is if you get some cardboard like I'm doing now, and you roll it up into a really tight spiral and then jam it into the end of the straw, you can pre-glue the piece of cardboard if you want and poke it in, or you can, in this case I just wadded it up and jammed it in so tight so that it was sitting in the end of the straw, and then that gives you the whole face of the straw to put glue on, and you can glue it on and it sticks a whole lot better, which is what happened for this one. So put some extra glue on, but now I'm gluing not just the edge of the straw, it's completely across the face of it's also glued on. It makes a much stronger bond, and it also gives you a lot more options for gluing. I did the same thing with a little piece sticking out of the end, which is going to eventually have the piped pipes, which are supposed to be electrical cords that are sitting on the ground. So here's just all of them are constructed and done, and I was having a bit of a look to do a couple of glam shots. So very quick video. So as you can see, there's a lot of just fiddly pieces stuck on there, but it's not complicated. This is a really easy, you didn't need a 3D printer or anything, you just need a block of wood and some cardboard and some scissors, and you can do it all. The following is some more photo shots. And then the next thing that went on was cutting these down. They were too wide, and so there's the generator. So I cut them in half. That's in there. So they'll become our new little lights. That's just showing you some of the details on the boxes. And then this is the building the walkways. So there's rectangular in the production shots, and in the movie there's rectangular metal walk things that they've put down so that when they're walking in the snow it's all not going all mushy. It was a really basic shape. I just grabbed Chewy, worked out proportionate size to what they should be, and cut them. And then there was a whole lot more strips, just measuring up strips and slicing the strips off. It was supposed to be 5 per board. I actually forgot what I was doing, and on the very first board I put 6 on, so I did have to cut some more. But it's the same thing as we just did with the boxes, where you cut the strips, put some glue on the face of the ramp tread thing, and then just equally eyeballed them so that they were equal distances apart. There you go. So that was the first one with 6. Oops. But 5 looks a lot better than 6. 6 looks a little bit like a fence paling. When it came time to doing the model, I actually was able to, I needed one chopped in half for each end. So I chopped in half the one that had 6 on it. Because it's the beginning one, you don't notice so much. It's pretty good. So it was gluing down the 5, and putting 5 on, and then just keep going. Here we are, just making next. After that, it was lay them out into the diorama and to see where I think I was going to place them, what I thought I was going to do, trying to work out where the pretend electrical cables are going to go. I ended up doing them with gap filler, but unfortunately the camera ran out of space on it at an inconvenient time, and while I was uploading the videos to make more room onto the computer in the camera, uploading them to the computer, it's limited amount of time I got to do things, so I went ahead a little bit. So I don't have any actual video footage of me piping the electrical cables on the ground, but it was just a pretty basic piping it out of a gap gun, and I did take a couple of photos of the gun and the piping. But I needed to lay everything out to figure out how it should all work, whether it had made too many boxes, where the decking plates were going to go, and whether I was on the right track and was going to need to make anything extra. So with all of the deck plates glued and done, the next thing was just to lay it out. I'm really glad I took some photos of it for this, but I'm glad I did, because once you spray painted everything white again, I couldn't see my pencil lines anymore, so I did use the reference photos that I'd taken as in the process glam shots to work out where everything went again when I was gluing it back on. So this is just getting the Falcon where it is, having another look at the production shots, sticking the little lights down in roughly where they run off the Falcon in the in the movie, putting the boxes crates down, figuring out which side they'd go on. It's all just sort of playing a little bit. In amongst doing all this, there's a real lot of models out there, and there's some spectacular bases that people have had for all different scales of things. And if you want to go and have a bit of a fun afternoon, it's worth having a look at some of the images on Google and things for Echo Base. And some have lots of boxes, and some have few boxes, and some have no boxes. And I decided that this layout was what I would work. So that's working out from where the landing gear goes, where the electrical cable that's coming from the generator is going to run to. I decided to put 2 in the movie when I had a look at some of the movie shots a little bit later. There's actually a lot. There's heaps of them. but two's enough for what I'm doing, because again, this is more of a picture frame around a subject rather than the whole thing. This is just something fun and funky to house the toy, but the focus is still this beautiful Millennium Falcon that Hasbro's made. The real one with the round disc. So if you can get a hold of one, they're great. So there you go. There's Chewy standing there for scale. I put the plates down. That's the way that it's going to end up. So I sprayed the board white. I indicated everything black and then oversprayed it with grey. I was a bit quick, so it was a bit cracky. And then I put some glue on the foam things for when I glued them, and then everything got sprayed silver. Thank you for watching. Hey, before I lose your attention completely, I'd like to give a shout out to a young Australian author that's up and coming. If you really like fantasy, I can totally recommend to you A Collision of Victory and Disgrace. It's on Patreon. You can find it at Patreon Shemanigans, and the info's up on the screen. She also does a Redbubble site, which will come up on the screen in a minute. But it's a really good story, and this is a young writer that's trying to make a bit of a way in the world. The prices start at $1 and go up to $10 a month if you want to really support her. And the $10 a month one gets you it personally read. At the moment, I've been informed that it's about a third of the way through. It's been going for a while now, but if you sign on now, you get all the months that have preceded it, so you can certainly catch up and get right into it. If you'd like to support that particular young writer and authors like her, then please do, and go and check out those websites, or go to Redbubble and get yourself some really good artwork. This is not a paid sponsorship. I don't do my YouTube for commercial anything. I don't get paid for any of it. But this particular author I know really well, and I think that it's worth plugging and trying to help people as they try and get a start up in the industry. Thank you. Have a really fun day. Bye.